The time? The late 1960s. The place? Chicago, Illinois. In the beating heart of the United States civil rights movement, Fred Hampton was the next big thing. The young chairman of the Windy City's Black Panther Party, Hampton was a talented orator and communicator, easily capable of projecting his voice to every corner of whatever room he's in. His mission was not just to fight for the civil rights of Black Americans, but to unite lower class and disadvantaged people of all races in the common cause of equality. Hampton was just 21 years old at the time, and like many of the civil rights pioneers of his era, his life was cut short. Murder, betrayal, corruption, racism, hatred, violence, blackmail. This is Judas and the Black Messiah. Thank you so much for checking out the review. Before we get started, make sure to click the red subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it. That way you know whenever I post a new video. Note for today's video, there will be some spoilers, but the life and death of Fred Hampton has been common knowledge for, like 50 years, so don't say that I didn't warn you. Plus, I already spoiled it in the intro. 2021's Judas and the Black Messiah opens with career criminal William O'Neal posing as an FBI agent, walking into a bar, and stealing a car from one of the patrons. It ends during a real-life interview with O'Neal and a closing text explaining that he took his own life that very night. In between those two events, our protagonist is recruited by the actual FBI following that failed car theft and tasked with informing on the titular Black Messiah, Fred Hampton. Director Shaka has created a deeply disturbing, unflinchingly violent, and extremely honest look at both the inner workings of the Black Panther Party and their relationship to a deeply corrupt and openly racist law enforcement apparatus. It also provides us a small but telling glimpse into the midst of the FBI at the time, with J. Edgar Hoover's overtly racist actions flowing down the chain of command from the director himself to O'Neal's handler, Roy Mitchell. Nobody is left unscathed by the film's treatment, and nearly every single individual in this movie comes off looking really bad. Hampton's heated but maybe necessary rhetoric and dogged pursuit of some sort of socialist utopia looks bad. The FBI constantly blackmailing their own informant and using him for their political gain looks bad. The Black Panthers arming themselves to the teeth and then provoking the Chicago PD looks bad. But nobody comes out looking worse than both the openly corrupt Chicago Police Department and the federal government's chief law enforcement division. J. Edgar Hoover doesn't just participate in the events going on in Chicago, he straight up orders them to jail an American citizen on trumped up charges and then murder that citizen when he's headed back to jail after the Supreme Court turns down his appeal. Oof and yikes. The movie is straightforward, and while this certainly isn't the fault of the filmmakers, we've seen this type of film numerous times before. So while it's obviously based on a true story, where Judas and the Black Messiah sets itself apart is in the presentation of that story. Making great use of low-key lighting, 60s appropriate music, fantastic costume design, in-your-face cinematography, and a perfectly executed setting, this film excels at drawing you in almost immediately. Top to bottom, the movie contains great performances from every single member of the cast. With a larger-than-life figure like Fred Hampton, the film needed somebody capable of filling those shoes. English actor Kaluuya plays the role to perfection. Combining Hampton's low-key personal life and his brash, loud, thunderous public persona is the key to making the whole thing work, and he pulls it off without a hitch. Kaluuya's fellow Get Out star LaKeith Stanfield plays William O'Neal, and as good as Kaluuya's performances, Stanfield's might be even better. From petty criminal to willing accomplice to conflicted betrayer, Stanfield deftly walks the line between getting paid, getting caught, and getting killed. The tension and stakes are very real, mostly because of the performances from the two lead actors, but there are solid contributions elsewhere. Dominique Fishback's Deborah Johnson is romantically involved with Hampton, and the actress gives a great performance here. Fishback starred in the absolute trash abomination that was Project Power last year, link in description, and she's given infinitely more to work with in Judas and the Black Messiah. Rounding out the rest of the main cast are Jesse Plemons as FBI handler Roy Mitchell, and a nearly unrecognizable Martin Sheen as FBI director J. Edgar Hoover. Both of these men hold some fairly abhorrent views, and Director Hoover makes no qualms about using the Bureau as a blunt instrument to destroy political opposition and to quell civil liberties. Generally, law enforcement is portrayed as the good guys, and understandably, given the situation at the time, they're not portrayed that way here. In fact, based on all we know about the Hampton story, it's patently obvious that the FBI and Chicago PD were in fact the villains of this story, a case that the film does not hesitate to make. I really hope this review doesn't get me put on some sort of list. Judas and the Black Messiah is a great movie that shows the best and worst of America in gritty details and refuses to back down when saying what it wants to say. While I certainly have my fair share of disagreements on some of the political statements, it's simply impossible to not declare that this is a fantastic achievement in the world of filmmaking. Thank you so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also like and share the review since that tells YouTube it's worth promoting. Hit me up down in the comments, let me know what you think of Judas and the Black Messiah, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.